When doing the SP2 collision repair and refinishing pollution prevention, this one here, or the automotive safety service pollution prevention, just as in the collision repair and refinish safety in the regular automotive safety, there are a lot of similarities. However, in the collision repair and refinish pollution prevention, there are a few more items that you won't find in the regular automotive version. Paint and residues, paint filler, paint booth filters, paint rules. Air pollution is a little bit different, but generally they're fairly close to the same. So if we go back to the automotive service pollution prevention, there's some basic components that you're going to find. Solvents. Solvents are basically anything that you're cleaning parts with, or anything that's used, even down to hand cleaners, all the different particular things we use to clean up components or our workspaces prior to us reassembling vehicles and working in our workspace. It's not water, it's not clean water, there's chemicals involved in them, and so disposing of these items are incredibly important. It's really important to note that it's the environment that we're protecting on this one, but it's essentially us, because we live in the environment. We live in our local environment, we live on the planet, and if we allow the waste stream to be polluted, things like our groundwater, for instance, here in our particular area, we drink well water, so if you allow runoff to go into the groundwater down to the riverbed or wherever, eventually it has the potentiality of contaminating your groundwater. If you live adjacent to the ocean and the rivers and streams and estuaries drain to the ocean, you have a high propensity for contaminating our food sources, fish and things like that. So we really need to protect everything. Handling wastewater. Wastewater is really important. When we mop up spills, you can't just take that wastewater and pour it down the drain if the wastewater is contaminated with oil or coolant or other different chemicals. That wastewater needs to be contained in drums and shipped off to a recycling facility to have that properly disposed of. Floor drains. You may work in a facility that at one time had floor drains in it. You don't see those very often anymore because floor drains present a potential hazard, because if something spills, let's say coolant or oil, and it makes it to that floor drain, it's going to go either into the municipal wastewater system towards a reclamation plant or a storm drain system. Either way is going to be contaminating the environment. There's a section on oil and similar fluids. We always want to capture any oil, brake fluid, coolants, anything like that, and dispose of them in drums, and then have them properly transported to a hazardous waste facility. Absorbents and spills. Spills are going to happen in a shop. Cars oftentimes are already leaking fluids when they come in. That's why they're at the repair facility. So if you're leaking coolant or oil, there's usually absorbents that you put on the ground. Sometimes it's corn husks, that's a popular one, or gypsum, or like a kitty litter type of thing. But once those absorbents absorb that fluid, they need to be put into a drum and also sent off to a recycling and reclamation facility. Antifreeze is the same thing. Batteries. Most batteries have a core charge, or a bounty, if you will, on them. So if you buy a new battery for $100, they might charge you $120. That $20 fee is to ensure that you take that old battery, and rather than disposing it in the waste stream, you send it back to the recycling facility, then they'll give you that $20 back. Refrigerant, which is the liquid that is located in automotive refrigeration systems, the part of the refrigeration system that keeps the passenger compartment cool, can't be vented into the air. Most of those are some type of chlorofluorocarbon and cause damage to the ozone, and it's an unnatural gas. We don't want to release it, so we have to recover, recycle, and hopefully reuse that product. Tires. Obviously, those rubber tires need to be recycled. They can be sent off to reclamation facilities that will break them down, put them into the roadbed, use a variety of other things. Also, you need to make sure that they're not stored where there's rainwater, because they serve a potential vector or mosquito hazard. The first time it rains, the tires fill with water, and it's a breeding ground for mosquitoes and other potentially hazardous insects. Asbestos. Asbestos was a tremendous worry in the past. However, now most automotive products don't have asbestos in them, or if they do have asbestos, it's just within what they consider a tolerable limit. However, we always want to make sure that we exercise proper respiratory protection, because the products that they use now in place of asbestos may pose a long-term exposure hazard as well. We don't really know about that yet because there hasn't been any long-term of time that's passed, but you definitely want to protect yourself from that. If you think that there's brake dust or clutch material dust when doing a clutch job or a brake job, make sure that that's put into a solvent type aqueous-based solution. They have, as you'll find out when you take the SP2 course, instruments to reclaim, recover, and filter out that asbestos. We definitely want to make it we don't want to make it airborne. The other thing too is just because they don't put a large amount of asbestos into brake pads, shoes, or clutch material now, doesn't mean that the brakes on the car that you're working on aren't old and may have asbestos in them. So you always want to protect your respiratory system from any airborne particulate matter.